Good morning and welcome to Year 4 Maths with me, Miss Downey. So let's write the short date and underline, and the learning objective, I know what an equivalent fraction is, and underline. What can you remember about fractions from last week? What is a fraction, and can you give me an example of a fraction? What is a numerator? What is a denominator? What is a unit fraction? And what is a non-unit fraction? Pause whilst you have a try. So last week we looked at finding different fractions of both amounts and shapes. So here it says circle a third of the sheep. Pause whilst you have a go. So let's have a look. How many sheep were there in total? There were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We needed to share them into 3 groups. So let's have a look. A third will be 2 of those sheep. Here, this one says colour half the shape. Pause whilst you have a try. So half the shape, let's just have a quick go here. Here we can see I've coloured in half. We learned how to write fractions. Can you remember which one is the numerator and which one is the denominator? And then here, can you colour in 1/4 of this shape? Pause whilst you have a try. Okay, here's my go. I'm going to colour in 1/4. So it's been shared into 4 and I only want one of those. So there we go, that is my quarter. When we write a fraction as a number, it has a number on top of a line and a number below. The number on top is called the numerator. This tells us how many of the parts we need. This number here is called the denominator, and this tells us how many parts of the shape or amount is made up of. So here you can see that when it's a half, it's split into 2 parts. We only want one of those. When it's quarter, the pizza is split into 4 parts, and we only want one of those 4 parts, a quarter. And when it's a third, it's split into 3 parts, and again, we only want one of those, a third. A unit fraction, can you remember what it does? It has a 1 on the top as a numerator. And I've got some examples here: half, tenth, quarter, and a third. A non-unit fraction has any number greater than 1 on the top as the numerator. So here we have 4/8 and 3/4. Can you circle the unit fractions in red and the non-unit fractions in blue? Pause whilst you have a try. How did you get on? So here's mine below. Pause whilst you check yours. So we're now going to look at equivalent fractions. Some fractions that are written with different numbers have the same value. And we had a little look at this last week. If you remember, we looked at 2/4 being the same value as 1/2. So can you see this below? Both of these shapes are exactly the same size. This one has been split into 2 and this one has been split into 4. On this one, half has been coloured in, and on this one with the 4 parts, 2 of the quarters have been coloured in. But if you fitted these, if you cut them out and you put them on top of each other, the shaded parts, the coloured parts, would be exactly the same. They cover exactly the same area. So a half and 2/4, or 2/4 and a half, are what we call equivalent fractions. Can you see the equivalent fractions below? So here you can see that this bar has been split into 4. It's been split into quarters. This bar has been split into 8ths. There are 8 parts. This bar has been split into 12ths, and this bar has been split into 16ths. So a quarter is the same as 2/8. A quarter is also the same as 3/12. And a quarter is the same as 4/16. So a quarter, 2/8, 3/12, and 4/16 are all the same. They are equivalent fractions because you can see that they each fit into the same area. Have a look at these equivalent fractions below. So again, it's the same thing. This bar has been split into 3 to represent a third. This bar has been split into 6 to represent 2/6. And this bar has been split into 9ths to represent 3/9 here. So a third is the same as 2/6 and is also the same as 3/9. A third, 2/6 and 3/9 are equivalent fractions. So can you draw lines to the equivalent fractions below? Pause whilst you have a try. How did you do? So let's have a look. So this one was 4/6, this one was 2/8, this one was 1/4, and this one was 2/3. So this one and this one were the same, and the quarter and the 2/8 were the same. So can you find half of each of these shapes? Look at how many squares are shaded, the numerator, and the total amount of squares, the denominator, and write the equivalent fraction. Pause whilst you have a try. So how did you do? So you should have had 3/6, 12/24s, 6/12s, 6/12s again, 8/16, and 9/18. So for more resources on fractions, try the Oak Academy, and this is the website, and try BBC Bite Size for lessons on fractions too. Thank you.